following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
They almost tried to stop the show because 2 minutes before showtime, something happened with the computer. It wouldn't allow me to come into the studio. It wouldn't allow the virtual background. And I think it's because they know what I'm going to say in this show in multiple fronts. And so they're trying to stop the Pipeman, but they will never stop the Pipeman. This is the Adventures of Pipeman here on W4CY Radio, and they can't stop my PipeNuts either. So let's bring the PipeNuts on so we can make a stand against these people trying to thwart the show. It was weird.
It's funny. That was about to be you.
Yeah, it was weird though, because what happened was I was all set up, I was ready, and I was doing other stuff. And I had the virtual background up, and then all of a sudden, nothing was moving. And then it got rid of the virtual background and said, your browser doesn't support that. So I restarted Chrome, and that didn't work. So I had to restart the computer. And when all else fails, for all people out there that are technically challenged, when all else fails, restart your computer. It fixes almost everything. Right, Juan?
That is correct.
And see, he's our residential pipe nut that knows about these things because he is technologically savvy. And still, he has to restart the computers at times.
All the time, yeah.
And Rebel's not technologically savvy, and she has to restart the computer more than most people.
No, the computer just does things. And it's funny because right before the show, it wouldn't recognize my microphone, but the microphone's attached to the camera. So it's like, how in the world did that happen? I had to refresh the browser. Somebody's trying to shut us up.
Well, I woke up this morning. Okay, so let me back up for a second. You know, as everybody knows, I do lots of interviews, a lot of music interviews, a lot of professional interviews. I do them separate from the live show. So if you're not catching those, go to theadventuresofpipeman.com or to any podcast outlet that you use, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, YouTube Music. There is no more Google podcast, so you can't go there. That's now YouTube Music. And Deezer, the list could go on. Just go wherever, okay? Some places you'll just hear it. Other places you'll watch it, but you can catch all the Pipeman interviews that don't appear in the show. This is one interview that was it was a great interview, a legend, okay? And there was a lot of hate comments coming into the YouTube. And I'm like, what's up with these people? And hey, I'm like, I responded. I'm like, why you gotta be hateful? Well, now the Pipeman was in the news this morning. I woke up this morning, 6 o'clock in the morning with Google alerts, because I have alerts set up for when there's anything having to do with the radio station or me that is showing up on Google. And then all of a sudden, the Pipeman, the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, all are all over Google this morning because of that interview.
Nice.
Would
Nice.
you like to know
That's
why?
a good thing, right?
Well, you know what they say. No good. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Okay. I don't like what they did. A lot of these reporters did, and it has nothing to do with me because I didn't do anything. But basically, here's what happened. Legendary drummer that I interviewed from a few bands, originally formed a band Cactus, and Vanilla Fudge from way back. You know, that's how much of a legend he is, and basically played with everybody. And you got to go check out the interview. But he basically said in that interview, and this is what was reported all over the news. It reported that I interviewed him, and it was on this show, and it was on W4CY radio, and that, I mean, some of it's out of context sometimes because, like, basically, I had said something to the effect of we were talking about 80s bands and we were talking about metal and the start of metal and what's metal, what's hard rock. And a point came up that, a lot of hard rock bands are labeled as metal. And that's true. Like there's times that people, I don't know, I've heard people say Zeppelin was metal. And I don't think Zeppelin's metal. There's people have said Mountain is metal. And they're probably closer, but metal evolved through the years, and it's just like people of 2024, what they consider metal, like things that I liked back in the 80s were considered metal, they wouldn't consider metal today, and so there were
I think
comments made.
was considered metal definitely in the 80s. Yeah.
Who was?
Zeppelin.
Well, yeah, considered, but are they metal? They're not really metal if
Oh.
you think about it. They're blues rock and roll. They just because they got a little heavier doesn't make them metal. What
But
were
they
you going to
were
say, Juan?
listen to.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
So, I
Wasn't
mean,
even born in the 80s, were you?
No,
But-
but the internet has it all, so you can
and there's
still
a
listen to them.
perfect example. Here's the younger generation saying, no, that's not metal. Led
That's
Zeppelin,
not.
yes, people may have considered that doesn't make them metal. Okay. Just like a lot of hair metal bands, once they became hair metal, are they really metal? Like, since when does heavy metal include just acoustic guitars? That's the whole point is it's heavy. That's why it's called heavy metal. Okay.
Well,
And-
back in the 80s, anything that wasn't like what your parents were listening to was heavy metal.
Well, exactly my point. That doesn't mean it actually is. So now you have genres like death metal and black metal. They're nothing like that. But that's what real metalheads today, like serious metalheads, consider metal. So, but what really caused the news was this conversation. And the main part of it was that my guest said, in his opinion, Black Sabbath is not metal. It's hard rock. Now, there could be varying viewpoints on that, but his point, he had a point to it because, I would say they are considered. That's why there was a lot of guff that they are the godfathers of metal. Like they are the originators of metal. And part of that is, Tony Iommi. I don't know if you know the story of the guitarist. Do you, Rebel or Juan?
I
No.
think you might have told us part of it before, and the name sounds really familiar, but I'm not recognizing it.
So he's one of the most famous guitarists, and he is famous also for the heavy metal guitar sound. What happened was there was an accident. He worked in a factory, and there was an accident, and his fingers got chopped off. So he had to figure a way to play the guitar differently to accommodate for that. So there's some motivation for you. People complain about their lives. They complain about what's going on out there. They complain about little things. Yet you have somebody like this who literally lost parts of his fingers and comes out ahead of the game because of it. And to me, That's because he didn't look at the problem. He needed to find a solution, and he did. And basically that sound of his guitar, that's where people say was the beginning of heavy metal. Now, my guess was Carmine Apiece, and I think there's people out there that maybe, I don't know, they have something to say about everybody, and they don't even know. The guy was the nicest guy. I think it was a great interview. He has his opinions from many, many years in the business, and as somebody that has seen the transformation. So, Black Sabbath, godfathers of metal, but would somebody today consider them actually heavy metal? Let's hear from the younger generation. What do you think, Juan?
I haven't really heard enough songs to say if they're heavy metal or not, but what I've heard sound like heavy metal.
And what
I don't
about Ozzy? Because he said about Ozzy mainly too. He's like, Ozzy was hard rock, not metal. And there's a lot of songs that definitely are not metal that Ozzy does. Rebel's rolling her eyes. Let's hear what she has to say.
What category would you put Iron Maiden in?
I would put him into metal. I don't think Iron Maiden and Ozzy are the same thing, but I do think Ozzy is like one of the godfathers of metal. But like, there's lots of songs that he does that are not metal whatsoever.
Okay, and do you feel there's a difference between metal and heavy metal?
There shouldn't be, and maybe there is, because it is one thing. It's heavy metal.
Line there.
Metal's just like a nickname for heavy metal. It's one and the same, but people may separate it. It's like,
okay, so how do you separate? All right, Ozzy Osbourne, Led Zeppelin, and
all right, let's do a test here. Okay, here's what we'll do in this situation, because there is a website you can go to, or not a website. You can just Google and that's what I'm doing right now. What genre is Black Sabbath?
Then after you get that answer, what genre
here's
was
what we're
Black
going to
Sabbath
do.
in the 80s?
We're going to live with this answer. Whatever this answer is, this is what we're going to live with. Right? And because that's what everybody does nowadays anyway. They see some headline and that's their opinion now. So,
but that is not the case.
I'm going to hit enter. Are you ready?
I guess.
Black Sabbath is a heavy metal band that originated in Birmingham, England in 1968. The band's sound is characterized by dark lyrics, that is a heavy metal feature, often about occultism and drugs, also a heavy metal feature. Thicker, louder music with more riffs, also a heavy metal feature. Dissonant music used the tritone or devil's chord, again, metal. Extreme volume, also metal. Dark demonic subject matter. Themes include war, social chaos, the supernatural, the afterlife, and the conflict between good and evil. All metal. So there it is. That's what.
Here's
So
another one.
everybody that used to be metal should stay in metal, and everybody wasn't not.
So you typed
Go ahead,
into
Juan.
Google. You typed it into Google. I asked ChatGPT what genre is Black Sabbath. Here's what ChatGPT had to say. Black Sabbath is primarily known as a pioneering band in the genre of heavy metal. They are often credited with creating and defining the sound of heavy metal music, characterized by heavy, distorted guitar riffs, dark and gloomy lyrics, and powerful, intense sound. Their music also incorporates elements of hard rock and blues rock.
There it is.
So there you go. If you're going to incorporate blues rock and the other one, then Led Zeppelin fits right back in the heavy metal category.
Well, I'm going to read Zeppelin. Now I'm going to read Zeppelin. I again put, and then Juan can do the chat GBT one. I put, what genre is Led Zeppelin? Led Zeppelin is often considered a hard rock and heavy metal band, but their style is individualistic and draws from many sources, including blues, folk, psychedelia, soul, reggae, and Celtic and Arabic music. They are often credited with creating the blueprint for heavy metal and inspiring other hard rock bands to include acoustic elements in their music. Led Zeppelin was also one of the first bands to experiment with Indian and North African music.
Okay,
So there you go.
They
Yeah,
took the lead
ChatGPT
and
said pretty much the
experimented.
same thing.
Okay, so now what Carmine did say is he felt the start of metal was Metallica. And what he was talking about is a certain kind of guitar playing. Okay. And so I'm going to read the Metallica one. I mean, there's no doubt they're heavy metal, but let's see.
They put them in the blues category.
Metallica is an American pop band that pretends to be heavy metal. No, I'm just kidding. I love Metallica, but I couldn't resist doing that. Metallica is an American heavy metal band that helped develop the thrash metal and speed metal subgenres in the 80s. Their early work is considered essential to the development of thrash metal, which is characterized by fast tempos, complex guitar riffs, and double bass drumming. Metallica's sound also incorporates elements of sludge metal, which some say has been present in their music since Load and even in the 1980s. Okay, so this is a good one for me to read there. And I'll tell you why. Okay, because that differentiated things right there. Okay, because so Metallica is more known as thrash and speed metal with some sludge instead of just heavy metal. So maybe it's the bands like Iron Maiden, like Zeppelin, like Sabbath that are just heavy metal. What were you going to say, Juan?
No, I was agreeing with you. ChatGPT told me pretty much the same thing. I don't know. I see Led Zeppelin more as like classic rock.
They're definitely classic rock, and
That's
they're
only
definitely
because they play on the classic rock station now.
they're definitely bluesy rock. They're definitely psychedelic rock.
They're
There
definitely
aren't
still awesome, and their music is cool.
there aren't many metal bands that you think of when you think of taking LSD. Led Zeppelin is a band you think of if you're taking LSD. That's
Wait a
wait. They are known for it. The movie Song Remains the Same plays in the Midnight Theater forever for the teenagers that are tripping on acid so they can watch this movie.
All right, and for your PSA today, we are not condoning, encouraging, and we are not saying that the band encourages this either. I'm sure their spokesperson would say they do not condone that activity. Thank you very much.
Well, Satan condones it, so that's why it happened.
But Satan doesn't play in that band.
Jimmy Page lived at Aleister Crowley's house, who is the most famous Satan worshiper ever. And there is rumors back in the day that's the reason Zeppelin broke up, is because bad things kept happening in a band because of the Satan thing. So hail
Satan
Satan.
never played in their band.
Well, how do you know? How do you know Satan's not playing through Jimmy Page?
That would be him playing through someone, but Satan himself did not play in their band.
All right. So, hey, can you do me a favor, Juan? Can you pull up and let's put on the screen some of the news sources of Pipeman in the news today? Like, this is why with shows, Rebel, this is why I don't put everything in the description, or we don't follow everything, because we're a live show. Things happen between that time and this time. And
That's
literally, I woke up this morning to this, and I'm not sure what to think of it. I'm kind of, part of me was, oh, that's not the way I want to be in the news. But other part of me was, yes, it is. And another part of me was like, wow, that was awful nice of them. Because they gave
dealing with 3 personalities.
Well, it was nice of them because they gave credit to the show and the station.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have to do that. And they didn't say anything bad. They just, there it is. Look at that.
This is what I'm saying now. Black Sabbath is in heavy metal. Drum legend Carmina P says.
That's all Pipeman. Now open one up. Which ones are those right there?
It's by The Ultimate Guitar,
Yep. And then
Blabbermouth.net and Metal Addicts.
by the way, Blabbermouth is huge. Okay,
Yes,
so
very.
let's open the Blabbermouth one. Okay, look, there it is, right at the top. Zoom in a little bit there to the Adventures of Pipeman and W4CY Radio.
Hey,
oh my God!
They talked about us on Blabbermouth. Well, they talked about you exactly, but
Yes, his legendary drummer Carmina Peace was recently interviewed on the Adventures of Pipeman, which airs on W4CY Radio.
And see,
and then he goes into
and talks about the Pipeman. So okay, so listen, I'm bringing this up because we have to give a kudos to Juan, and they forgot to mention him in the piece. But I had Juan do a lot of work to that interview because there were bad internet connections and freezes and stuff to make sure it was good enough to put out there in video. Now I'm kind of wondering if we should have done that. Because listen, Carmine is an amazing person, an amazing drummer, a legend. And our job, in my opinion, is to make them all look good. And he is good. And he's got great stuff going on. This band Cactus is like legendary, and it's been put back together with like special stars in it, like Dee Snider, like Ted Nugent, like Joe Bonamassa. There's a whole bunch of people on this on this album and stuff. So everybody's got to check out the new Cactus stuff. Check out Carmine Appice. He's an amazing dude. So like, whatever anybody wants to say, people are entitled to opinions. Why in 2024 are people not entitled? It's a genre. If you have an opinion, you know how many gatekeepers there's been in metal that don't consider bands metal, that, just like, when I was in the 80s and Motley went glam, it's like, oh, they're not metal anymore. Same with a lot of those bands. And see, Rebel.
They still are.
Are they?
Yes.
Do you still like the Motley Crue? The Motley Crue? That I say that because my dad used to call me and my friends that the Motley Crue.
I do. I will always have a special place in my heart for Motley Crue and Poison. Love you guys.
We were going to talk about relationships on this show, but should we talk about Nikki instead?
No, we're not going to talk about Nikki instead. We're going to talk about relationships in general.
Oh, okay. Why? Is there something else?
There's something else. Well, there's tons of things we could talk about, but, like we're missing someone today. You dropped the nut.
Yeah, well, sometimes that happens. See?
We were on the way to get you 2 pairs, but now you're down to 1.
Exactly. So let's also talk about something else that's going on. You can't see it in my background up there because my name is covering it, but basically that's the Pipeman for Prez promo that we've ran for years, except I updated it. And so Pipeman has decided that he is going to break the law so that he can win the presidency. I feel the only way to win. I feel the only way to win the presidency now is to become a convicted felon at least 36 times over.
No. No.
Well, wait.
No,
it's the new trend. Come on.
But no, let's not.
It makes you trustworthy in front of everyone.
Everyone
will they will vote for you.
Yeah. Okay. So, and
people make mistakes. It happens.
So
everybody's human, and we have to keep that in mind. But
everybody's human.
All right, that's a harsh word to use these days. I'm so sorry to offend everybody. No, all right. So
you're excluding the aliens, okay? We cannot exclude them. They're part of our society.
I'm so sorry to exclude anyone. All right, for those running for president, you don't need to go and commit felonies just to get stuff on your record. And
I've already been
you
promised by my followers that if I can do more than 34 counts of felonies, they will vote for me. That's been
Okay.
promised to me.
So are you talking the harsh ones? Because you could easily, knock off a few. But are you going for the higher counts of felonies or the lower, like barely a felony, just right over misdemeanor type of thing?
Well, listen, did you hear what happened to my opponent? Okay. He said in a speech after the scenario, he said to all his followers, well, maybe not to them directly. Let's not say that, but he said if he goes to prison or is on house arrest, that something bad is going to happen in America. So that's kind of like a eerie enough. That's kind of like a similar thing that was said sometime in January, a little while back.
Do tell.
Juan,
she doesn't get it. Okay.
Juan knows. I'm not going to tell you
January?
I'm not going to tell you for a sixth time, Rebel. Okay.
Yeah.
Which time? I mean, which January? This January?
Oh
no.
That was clue number 2.
I know. I know, right? You're not very good at not getting blocked. Which, by the way, oh my God, I forgot about that. Last week's butthole show got blocked. Oh man, it was great. And
try to get it again this week. You keep saying that word.
I appealed it, and the Pipeman won. Just like the Pipeman's going to win the presidency as long as I get 36 felonies. That's my goal. My goal before the Republican National Convention or the Democratic National Convention, I don't care which convention, is to get 36 felonies.
Oh, that's something to put on the list of things to do, isn't it?
Well,
good luck.
It would be kind of cool, though. It would be kind of cool, doing my show and running the country all from some club-fed country club.
Oh yeah, well there you go.
Except I don't know if they would let me have Wi-Fi.
I don't know. I mean, some January 6ers are still in there, and they get Wi-Fi somehow to do shows.
No, they have contraband. They're using cell phones that they're not allowed to have. Okay?
Just where do they hide those things? When they...
Oh, all kinds of places. Sometimes up their butt.
I don't. Again,
that
you
is
go
called
on
a
there.
prison wallet.
That's why it's called a butt dial.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Next time you do that, I'm just going to think about that and laugh my butt off. Because
see what I did there?
Things
you
happen, yeah.
dialed me earlier today.
Sometimes you just clench a little too much and he accidentally dials people.
Exactly. Or when there's like prison sex going on.
Ooh, there's a lot going up there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you guys see how much you guys test the walls.
Yeah, speaking of testing things, on the Language of Healing Tuesday, you mentioned something about faking orgasms. We said we were going to talk about that.
We are, because we're going to go to relationships in like a few minutes, and we'll talk about it in there. But I do want to talk about one more thing having to do with the presidency. Okay, so I want to ask a question, I think. Okay, but let's say in July he gets sentenced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first of all,
one of your opponents.
How come in the Constitution they don't have something that says a convicted felon cannot be president of the United States? Because I think that's kind of weird. You can't you can't vote for yourself, but you can run. Like in certain states, they reinstated here in Florida, but it used to be in Florida, you could not vote if you were a convicted felon. So you're a convicted felon, like depending on what state you're in, you can't vote for yourself.
But illegal aliens can vote.
Yeah, that's a whole nother subject. But how can you vote? Not vote for yourself, but you can run. That makes zero sense to me. Now, here's the other thing. If he does get sentenced to prison or house arrest, which quite could happen, whether you like him or not, think about how this country looks, that we have a president of the United States that is in prison running the country, from a jail or from a jail cell. Okay?
No,
and that people actually want this.
Well, the question is, will he be running prison? Because if he can run a prison, then he can run the country. That's for sure, right?
Well,
Biden can't even find the bathroom. Or he's way down the stage, right? Unless he falls and trips and he's done multiple times.
So I want to ask a couple things. First of all, I don't even know how they're going to do the Secret Service thing if they do prison. Okay. But what happens if he's doing the State of the Union address and one of the other inmates comes in his cell and starts whacking him with a lock and a sock? Okay. And just starts beating the hell out of him. Or what if some other inmate rapes him live during the State of the Union address?
Okay, just to clarify, I don't think they put former police or government people in prison with general population.
What if it happens? What if
I just don't think they do?
What if the president, whoever becomes president, decides to put him in Gen Pop?
Okay, so since you're going to win the election this year, are you going to put him in Gen Pop?
No, I won't do that.
Okay.
I say the answer is solitary. That's the only way you can protect them. That's the thing, though.
Can you really protect people in solitary?
Yeah, well, yes and no, but better. But better. All right. So forget that. And I hope that word I said before doesn't get us whacked out. I'm not saying anything, but what do you guys think? Should we edit that word out later?
Maybe.
You think?
Because you never know with AI what they're gonna decide is good or bad.
What do you think, Juan?
I think we should be fine as long as we don't use it in the title.
Okay, good. All right, so kind of want to edit it because this is America, and we are able to say whatever we want on the radio, like everybody else out there.
Until AI says no.
Okay, so let's shift gears real quick to Stanley Cup playoffs. I was going to wear my jersey today. It wasn't one of theirs. And I might root for Edmonton, to be honest. It's Edmonton against the Panthers. I am thoroughly happy that the Rangers got eliminated because they're a bunch of punks. Okay. But as a Devils fan, as somebody that lives in Florida Panther games are boring as can be. Okay. It's not like it's not like the rivalry up north. People don't even go to the games here. Okay, I'm getting 10 million emails to get tickets to the Stanley Cup playoffs. That wouldn't happen if it were at the Rangers or the Devils or the Islanders or the Flyers. It's sold out. You're not getting in unless you buy from the
We're not turning the Panthers down if they ever want to advertise for on the station.
Yeah. Well, if they want to advertise, they're going to have to, win the cup, okay? Because they lost last year to a new team, Las Vegas. How good are you if you lose to the newest team? Okay, I don't know.
Okay, well, in all fairness, the Panthers play in Florida where it's hot, and Vegas they might get a little.
Well, that's
cooler,
what happens midway.
Easier.
That's what happens midway through the game. The ice starts melting, and that's how they got to the Stanley Cup because all the other teams they're not used to that, so they don't know how to skate in that.
Well, it happens. Hey, whatever works.
But Edmonton, you got Gretzky, which he kind of looks. I've been watching him during the Stanley Cup because he's announcing. He looks weird.
Why?
Oh, we have a comment. Let's address the comment, Rebel, and then we'll go to wish the Colorado Avalanche were still in. Well, here's something. Okay, trivia. The New Jersey Devils, which I have an original logo. They were green and red like a Christmas tree originally. Where did they move from to New Jersey? Do you know, Juan? Do you know, Rebel? Does
No.
our listener know that commented? I'm curious.
No, so the New Jersey what?
Devils.
The Devils moved
they were
from
from another city, from another state.
God forbid it be one of the southern states, right?
Well, it certainly isn't Louisiana because you guys don't even have hockey.
Oh no! Look it up.
What are we looking up? Pee Wee League?
See if we have a hockey team now. I was shocked.
Well, they obviously aren't very good. They're not going to beat the Panthers. Okay, here it is.
They melted.
Come on. Okay, you want the answer, guys? And then
Yes.
we'll go relationships.
Yes.
The answer is the Colorado Rockies. He is absolutely correct. Let's put our winner up here on the board. Absolutely correct. Just in time, right under the wire.
So the Rockies moved to New Jersey, and then Colorado got the Avalanche?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like somebody ought to tell them they could have just changed their name. It could have been that simple.
I don't know.
Okay, so we're going to talk about relationships. So Rebel wants to talk about fake orgasms. I want to talk about sober relationships only because, not for any other reason, but I saw a thing just this morning, somebody that was doing a video about exactly that, making fun of it. And as somebody that rarely drinks, I experience the same thing as people that are trying to get off alcohol. In other words, it's really rough when people are trying to get sober and they have these friends that want to keep them alcoholics. Okay. But then there's the other thing. There's somebody like me who people that are drinkers, when they're with you, they're very uncomfortable because they feel they can't drink because you're not drinking.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I go through the same thing too.
That should give them more positive because then
No.
the non-drinker is the
No.
That never happens.
Nope.
What I get most of the time is like, what are you babysitting? Drink. You got to catch up with us. Like, they make it to where the social concept is if everyone's drinking, you should be drinking too.
So here's the thing too, in relationships, but I will back up. I will say, when I was in my 20s, I was working at Prudential Insurance, and we used to go to this place, the Rusty Scupper in West Orange, New Jersey, every Friday. All the agents would go. I didn't drink at all. Like once I hit 21, I stopped drinking because I never liked it to begin with.
As a teenager, did you?
I did some, but I was never a big drinker. I never really liked it, but as a teenager, you kind of had to do it type of thing. And once I was 21, I was like, stupid. But here's the thing. My friends, the other agents are like, yeah, you don't need to drink. You're just as much like us without the alcohol, and then you can turn it off. And it's true. Like, who I am now is who I was then. There's a little glimpse into the past. I could be just as drunk as them without being drunk. Is basically.
I always
like
have to tell them I'm naturally like this. Could you imagine me on something?
But to Ron's point, I can tell you the story of 2 marriages and several dates about this sober thing. Okay, because the first wife, thing one, hated that I didn't drink. And I didn't drink at all. 12 years we were married. I drank a half a beer because she made some deal with me because I wanted her to do something. That was the deal she made for me to do that. And I couldn't even finish the beer. I couldn't even finish the beer because I don't like the taste of it. And so, yeah, I mean, she was always uncomfortable with that. And if you look at other people, like my father was an alcoholic and my stepmother was an alcoholic. But my stepmother used to feed my dad's drinks so that he would be the center of attention. Nobody would notice that she was the whack job. Yeah. Yeah. So that goes on too. But I've actually had women on dates tell me, frankly, what it is. You go on these dates, and even if it's like they want to get a glass of wine, I don't like wine. You can have your wine. I don't care. And it's not even like I care if they drink. They don't even, it's not even just alcoholics. It's somebody that maybe just drinks a glass of wine once in a while. And they won't order that wine because they're uncomfortable that you're not drinking. It's like, why do you give a crap? Okay.
Yep.
And I understand. Well, usually because they know they have a problem. So then they're the only one visible. Going back to what I said, my dad and my stepmother, if my dad was not an alcoholic, then my stepmother would have felt uncomfortable because everybody would be looking at her actions instead of his. You see?
So she didn't want to be the lush looking person.
And so that's what happens with guys on dates if you don't drink. Because also, there's a lot of women out there, or people in general, that think if you're a guy, the macho thing, if you don't drink, you must be some kind of wussy or something.
No,
like
that's not true.
Well, no, because we were brought up in my day and age. We were brought up real men drink, and like you drink like a real man. You don't you don't drink that girly stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So beer is the manly thing?
No,
Yes.
well, it is.
Yes.
But that is one of them, but not like girly beer. And then,
There's a
stuff
girly
like
beer.
Jack Daniels, Scotch, whiskey, Scotch, vodkas. Well, no, vodka's girly.
How did vodka get girly?
Okay.
I didn't
Kinda
know
is.
that
How
alcohol had
manly?
a boy.
How manly do you think I would look saying I want a margarita, or can I get a
Or-
section of beach?
Or even a martini.
Unless you're James Bond, you shouldn't be drinking a martini. First of all,
Or a Cosmo. Okay?
people still drink those
What?
Cosmos.
Yeah, women drink those. Like,
I have
God.
never met anyone that drinks a Cosmo.
I don't
well,
drink
see
that.
that? You're not banging the older women then. That's
But
what
see,
that
like
says.
that's a difference. Like when you go to a bar and you say, "Let me get a Cosmo," as a man, people look at you weird. But if you say, "Let me get a bullet to the head," they're like, "Oh, he drinks." Okay,
Yeah, there you
what I
go.
mean?
Oh God.
Okay,
Okay.
trivia
Or a
question.
driver.
What is a cement mixer? Do, 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 do,
We'll
do,
let
do,
the
do, do.
Those
ladies
things
go
on the
first.
construction site that pours.
So this is what bartenders, female bartenders usually will give obnoxious guys that get too drunk and start being jerk-offs and obnoxious. They buy them a shot, and the shot is a cement mixer. And what the cement mixer does is the minute it touches your mouth, it curdles like curdled milk, because it's like Kahlua and lime, and
Gross.
it's about as disgusting as it can be.
How
But
many of those have you received?
I haven't received any because I don't drink and get obnoxious.
All right. So
I
how do
would,
you know
I would
this?
be, I would sit there because I was always friends with the bartenders, and I would watch it happen. It would be fun to watch. Some jerk off that I wanted to punch out, they would just, I was wanting to punch them out because they were being belligerent with the bartender, and other people, and she would be like, "Don't worry about it. I got this handled. Watch."
All right, we just got a comment from Mary. Mary says, "I was broken up with because I didn't drink enough."
See,
Mary, the only thing you need to drink enough of is water.
that's
We'll leave it
right.
at that.
Water or tequila.
It's the
Not
same
tequila.
thing. No,
Yeah.
we're kidding.
Yeah. So listen, what if you just lived on tequila?
Then life would be a party, wouldn't it?
For as long as it lasted, I guess.
It might be. Okay. So let's get to you, Rebel. You wanted to talk about fake orgasms.
No. You brought it up on the language of healing. You
Okay.
said something about fake orgasm. So I
She-
want to know, what are your
Obviously, you're not healed yet. Go ahead.
Well, I want to know, what are y'all's thoughts? Has anyone ever asked you to fake an orgasm?
I don't know if they've asked me anything.
Asked.
Oh, okay. just making sure. To me, no, guys, they don't ask guys to fake orgasms, Guys
you
could
ever
have an
asked a girl?
orgasm. Guys could have an orgasm just sitting doing nothing. Okay, so
Yep.
it's not necessary. Even guys that are impotent can have an orgasm.
Okay, well, what about a guy that can go on for like hours? Has anyone ever just said, or maybe you two aren't the ones to ask this, but has a guy ever been asked to fake it so they can get over with? I
No.
don't know if that's a scenario that's ever
They don't
been
ask
true.
a guy to fake it. Females
No
fake it
one
so
asked
the
anyone to fake
guy
it.
stops. Because once the guy thinks you've reached orgasm, then they'll stop immediately. So when the woman's sick and tired of it because they're not getting anywhere and it's not any good, then they fake the orgasm to get the guy to stop instead of just saying, okay, that's enough. You're terrible. Get off of me.
Mhm. Yeah,
Alrighty then.
usually once the woman has had enough, she doesn't care if you're finished or not. She just wants it done.
See, now why didn't I make the news today for this? I should
Because
make
it's
the
not out yet.
news. I
It's
should
just
make
live.
the news for being the one that no woman ever needs to fake an orgasm with. That's what I want to make the news for instead.
Well, we're talking about guys faking orgasms, not the
We're
woman.
talking about both, actually, because he brought it up about
I brought it up about
the
women.
the
How
initial thing
stupid
was
it is. How
stop
stupid it
doing it
is.
because you think the person that's you're doing it for thinks they're all that and really taking care of you when it's really not. So
Yeah, women fake orgasm and orgasms to make the guy feel good, and it's stupid because a guy generally does want to please you. So when you fake the orgasm, he thinks he did something right. He's going to do the exact same thing
Yep.
every single
And
time.
he creates a bad habit.
Yep. Once you have figured out how to get her to orgasm, you're going to do that same shit every time. You make a note of it, man. It's like if you're seeing a guy in the middle of it and he's on his phone, that's what he's doing. He's making a notation.
oh god. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
he's not
that
recording
was
video or
carried
anything
on.
like that. He's taking notes.
That carried on from the language of healing, but I do have an actual question. All right, what if you were interested in someone and they
Nope.
straight up told
Go
what
ahead.
if they straight up told you that they have a drug problem? Where would you go with that?
Oh, that's a hard yes for me.
What's a drug? What drug is it though?
That's
One of the
that's a
harder ones?
terrible question because every woman that I've ever been attracted to was an addict. It might have something to do with both my parents were addicts and my stepmother was an addict and everybody around me was an addict.
Okay, addicted to what? Oh, wait, I'm talking one of the harder ones. One of the
Well, let's put it this way. Thing two,
big ones.
before we got married, Thing two called me from this place here in South Florida. It doesn't exist anymore. That was a gay strip club, which if you know about, girls go to those gay strip clubs because then guys don't hit on them, So she called me and she's like, I'm calling
Oh,
you.
she went to
I'm
a
calling you
male
from the
gay
bathroom of Cabaret snorting lines. How do you like me now? That was the exact
Is that on
conversation.
purpose?
Yeah, it was on purpose. She was
Are you
trying to
still
push me.
married, or-
She was trying to push me away. So, and she
Okay.
knew that might more so that doing the cocaine was the problem. But yeah, of
So you
course,
married her, so you would obviously continue in the relationship. Juan, what about you? If you were talking to someone and they potentially
because you want to
sexual interest,
well, let me finish that though before Juan goes.
married her and then divorced her.
Well, I didn't divorce her. She divorced me because I ran out of drugs. No, she divorced me. But the fact of the matter is like it was my mission to get her off drugs, and that's what happens when guys get with drug addicts. It's because they want to get them off drugs, and whatever. That's a whole nother psychological level and relationship faux pas. Your turn, Juan.
I'm gonna do that too.
What?
Yeah, me personally, like I couldn't deal with that because like I don't have any vices. So living with someone with a vice and not being able to help them because to a certain extent, if they don't want to be helped, then there's nothing you can do to change it.
100%.
So the only thing you can do is just walk away from it.
100% facts.
Unfortunately.
They'll even act like you did help them, and then they'll hide the shit. You
Oh,
know?
but what if they didn't want help? What if their problem is not a problem? You see it as a problem because you don't do that and you don't condone that activity. But what if they don't see it as a problem? Could you be in a relationship with someone
Most drug addicts don't see it as a problem. That's part of their problem. But yes, you can't help anybody. They have to help themselves. They have to realize it themselves. All kidding aside, nowadays that's not who I want. And like, I still attract them and I run for the hills. Okay. And that's probably why I'm still single, because I'm very picky and there's not very many people in South Florida that are not addicts. Okay. Just saying,
Trust
but
me, I know.
see that Juan's saying it too, and so it's not like Louisiana where they all have these trailers and they're all cooking meth, but it's close.
That's a shame thing. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that was my opinion
Yeah,
too.
no worries.
We have to talk more about relationships and more about this issue and why you should not fake an orgasm when you're on drugs.
How do you know if you're faking if you're on drugs?
You might not. Maybe that's the key to it all. If the dude is bad in bed, take some hallucinogenics and you'll think he's good.
No. We are not encouraging you to do that. No. If the dude's bad in bed, tell him, dude, get off me. He's just not doing it for me. Call it a day. Just be careful how you say it because you don't want any backlash on that one.
Yeah, I would just say, dude, get the fuck off of me. You suck.
You don't have to be mean about it.
Well, yeah, you do. You gotta shock them into being better.
What makes you think shocking them's gonna make it any
Oh,
better?
trust me. If you tell a guy he's not doing a very good job, he's gonna try and find like the best way to like get it right.
It's gonna trigger something when you tell them that something like
listen,
that.
Men are so competitive that if you tell them you're not good enough for me, they will get better no matter what.
They will do. They will go
way.
into training, man. Like
exactly. How do you train for that?
Well, you practice.
Yeah, just don't get mad if he practices with someone else.
Practicing, and just because they can please someone else doesn't mean they please you. What is that? I mean, where do you come up with practice?
I say this needs to be continued. What do you say?
I think this needs to be continued.
All right, to be continued on the Adventures of Pipeman here on W4CY Radio. Never know what the Pipeman's going to be in the news for next after this show, but I'm looking forward to it. And hey, you guys can win some tickets to some DWP festivals. All you have to do is DM me on any of my socials, Pipeman Radio. Follow me on all socials. DM me and tell me what your opinion is about fake orgasms. Also, or if you prefer, tell me your opinion of whether I should convict or whether I should attempt 36 felonies in order to win the presidential election.
I'm going to say no to that. And we ought to have a contest where they have to fake an orgasm on.
Okay, yes. For any of you out there that want to guarantee winning tickets to a festival, write me. You'll be a guest on the show, and we want you to fake your orgasm live on the air. You don't have to have your clothes off. Just fake the orgasm. We've already had people with their clothes off. It's not that great anyway. So, but we'll just fake the orgasm. You could be like Sally and When Harry Met Sally. Let's see if you can do it. Tune in next week and every week at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to check out theadventurespipeman.com or iHeartRadio or any of the places you can find the podcast. You can, if you missed any part of this show, you can catch this too. And don't forget the Pipeman OnlyFans, where Rebel is going to fake an orgasm while eating a watermelon.
There you go.
Thanks for listening. Roll it, Juan.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.